Hello and welcome to another edition of the Race Lens Breeders' Cup prep race preview shows. I'm your host, Peter Thomas Fornital, back with you in the Brooklyn Bunker. Once again, my brain is pudding, people. I'm not going to lie. I've been going since I've basically been on air since about 8 a.m. this morning, but there's one more show I'm very excited to do. It's going to be talking about this Race Lens in the Money Media collaboration we've got going, and I'm very excited to be joined once again, before I tell you about that, to be joined once again by the man you see on the other side of the screen. He is Race Lens power user Matt Vagvolgyi. Matt, how are things?
Things are good. Things are good. Long week, but glad to be ending it talking some horses and looking at a plethora of winning your in races this weekend, Pete.
So we're brought to you by Race Lens, and we have this promotion going on right now where you can save $300 on a Race Lens annual subscription and get a $200 value year of ITM Plus. And the reason I mention it in part is it's the best time to sign up for In the Money Plus, because if you were to sign up today just to do a month of it, you would get all of our Keeneland coverage, all of the extra stuff we're going to have in the run-up to the Breeders' Cup. Our Breeders' Cup package has been very popular over the years. We've had many highlights, including Drew Cody last year, basically delineating his exact strategy that he ended up using to win the BCBC. We want folks to check it out. I think the smartest way to do it, and you'll hear more about Race Lens during the course of this show and during the course of the shows we're going to be doing soon as well, but about what a powerful tool this is, Matt. And I know Race Lens has been something that has really been influential in your horse playing over the years.
Yeah, I pretty much used it since they rolled it out. I was very interested in it, and like we mentioned the last time, what really drew me to it was the fact that you can model without having a modeling background, right? So you can do a lot of the stuff that I really wanted to do, but didn't really have the know-how. I'd say I'm well above average in Excel, but when it comes to this stuff, drawing a lot of different data points and also understanding that the different things that you could run and put together some angles, it was all based on the information from Equibase. So pretty much anything that you want to look at is there. So that's what really drew me to it, and it's been a really good source of just building some broader data, then drilling down and trying to guide me to the right places. And again, like I said before, it stays with you. Once you create it, it's always there and it remains active. So yeah, it's been a good base in terms of the information, the research side. It's been a really big part of my my horse playing endeavors.
What we're going to do over the course of the next 25 minutes or so is show how you use Race Lens to find angles into races. This will, it may lead to some tips. It may not lead to some tips. We'll certainly talk about the races as we go too. But I wanted you to have the ability to share your screen so we can get a little bit of a sense of how you use the program. Where shall we begin, Matt?
Well, again, this is the home destination screen where you've got all of your tracks on the left side here. We'll start over at Aqueduct or Belmont at the Big A. I'm just going to go with Aqueduct.
It's the more genuine way of describing it. In print, I like Belmont in parentheses, and then but I find myself falling, and I'm a marketer for a living, so I respect it in a way, but I find myself guilty of deferring almost to calling it Belmont, being like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, well, personal grudge with some of the independent modeling I do. The track code screws me up all the time. So I'm trying to import something that doesn't exist, and it drives me nuts. Anyway, we'll leave my personal gripes aside. But one thing I wanted to point out, because a lot of with a lot of action going on this weekend and a lot of great different bets, like unique offshoot bets that are out there, like what you guys talked about last night with this Keeneland Santa Anita pick 6 that's going on. And then you have special turf pick 3s and when the golden hour is running, you have all these different types of specialty bets. What I wanted to point out is that you don't have to run through all the different cards and kind of go back and forth. So I'll give you an example. For instance, if you want to play that Keeneland Santa Anita pick 6, it's a separate file here. So if you click on that, it'll automatically populate all of those races for you. So you don't have to go back and forth from Keeneland back to Santa Anita, then back to Keeneland. So that's something that I've always liked. There's a specialty bet out there. I love to play the golden hour bet. Sad to see Golden Gate go. But that was one bet that I really enjoyed playing, both the double and the pick four. You click on that and boom, you got all the races there. There's no reason to jump back and forth.
That is really neat.
So what do you want to, let's go to.
Yeah, you pick.
Let's roll through at Aqueduct and start with the Frizette. I know a short field, but what I want to do tonight is to kind of set some different ideas of what Pete and I will go through as we do more of an evergreen style content of different ways and different avenues you can research. And, one of the things I'll talk about here is, obviously when you're out there, you're looking to play these types of races, especially in a short field, right? If you can knock a favorite, it's certainly a good thing, right? So, looking at through these, I think this is going to be a pretty evenly bet race, but if you look at the morning line favorite, Life Talk, what I did was I looked at it from the sense of, what I feel would be an evenly bet race. I do think that Life Talk will probably go off as the favorite, is the 9-5 morning line favorite. But one angle that I have here, I've been following this for a while, is looking at Pletcher and making a particular move, going from a maiden win right into graded stakes. And that meets Life Talk. There's actually a couple of horses running on the day that meet this criteria. And it was pretty interesting. If you look at this particular move, and again, I can hover over it here, you can see all the different angles that pop up. So everything that I've run that match this particular horse, whether it's a connection, whether it's a jockey, whether it's the run style of the horse, you can see all these different things that pop up. And when I hovered over it, I noticed this in red. When you see something in red, it's going to have a negative result. See something in green, it's something positive. If it's white, that means it's somewhere in between, not quite positive, not quite negative. But I took a look at this, and it's pretty interesting to see this particular stat. And there's a decent amount of data behind it, but I'll give you kind of the numbers for it. If you look at over the last 6 months, he's 0-for-6 with this move. And again, it's Pletcher going from a maiden win to a graded stake. So 0-for-6 in the last 6 months. And then even over the last 5 years, just 12% winners and a negative 63% ROI. So just 7-for-57. So I thought that was a pretty interesting look at maybe taking a different view of a horse that I think might be the favorite or might take the lion's share of the money.
Let me interrupt for 1 second, Matt, just because it's so funny, because I had noticed this today and it actually contributed to my getting stuffed in a locker with candied in the House of Pieties, exact same angle. And, but that doesn't mean that it's not valuable information. But it goes to show that, these things can, there's a lot of variance and things that go on. But I had the same thing. I said it on TV. I was talking about how, obviously it's hard to do. And it's something but when you look at that ROI, people just assume that Pletcher's always going to be able to do it. And yeah, he did today in the Alcibiades, helped by the fact that Brightwork didn't stay. And that, Vivi's Dream maybe backed up a little bit off the race last time, but it's still great information to have. And tomorrow, when it comes to opposing Life Talk, I'm happy to go right back to that well.
Yeah, again, it's one of those things where I remember exactly when I created this angle was at Saratoga, literally sitting there watching the races, and I just feel like I've seen Pletcher struggle with this move. I'm curious. Let me take a look and run it. And again, that's the point of showing something like this. When you have an idea, you see something, you're trying to test what your eyes are seeing with the actual numbers to give you a broader look. But Pete, like I said, there's different data points out there. To play data and statistics straight, you're gonna have a lot of pain in this game. I'll tell you that. So looking at the entire picture is certainly important. But this is something there where it's like he struggles here. Let me then take a deeper look, try to find a way to leave the horse out or try to find a different angle in a small field. So that's how I like to look at this. If I see something like that jumps out, I'll dig deeper to the details and go through the different sheets, and then see how the horse plays into the field. But I thought that was interesting looking at that kind of a negative angle with
definitely. And then you combine it with the fact that you just look at a pace map for this race, whichever one you want to look at, and Life Talk's going to be way behind a runner like Emery, who is going to be running here, who has what I think in a short field going a mile is an advantageous post. I mean, to me, I'm okay fading Life Talk and going to the hoop with Emery in this spot. JK had made a case for just FYI on the other show as well. But yeah, I'm all about Emery in here. Have you looked to the degree where you have any kind of selection, or is it you're more just using this as a starting point? You'll figure it out as you go.
I would say looking at more of a start, but I agree a lot with Emery. That's who I'm heavily leaning towards in this race. I just think so move from Brad Cox, that second start out, and I'll point something out here with Emery as well. If you scroll down here, so underneath the PPs, you'll see some nice preset data. You can play around with this as well, but it's something that's there and it's easily to see, and you can cross-reference it with when you're looking at the past performances. Right? We talked about the last time of just a good breakdown on the jockey and trainer stats here. Obviously, a lot of good when you look over at Brad Cox and as well
all
as
green.
Franco. Yeah, all green. Green is always good, right? So again, it's not anything surprising, right? But when I look down here, if you look at this Brad Cox angle here on a trainer standpoint, so what this is showing here is Brad Cox's record, second career start. And, again, a pretty broad angle here, but man, it just have a sample size like this, 34% winners, 65% in the money, still having a positive ROI of plus 6% and a median win of $5. What that does, it really gives you at your fingertips a lot of really good information. And I find this section as well is also handy when it comes to, again, not in this particular case. Well, I mean, second start, you may consider to use it, but once you get a few starts under the belt, the horse is who the horse is, right? So the sire and dam information may not be as relevant. But when you're looking at, first-time starters, when you're looking at a lot of these very difficult 2-year-old races, say, Saratoga, or even coming up down the line, with some of these top tracks running, it's nice to have some really easy sire and dam stats right at your fingertips here. There's also a research tab up top. You can dig a little bit deeper. I just wanted to point that out as an example of, I do like Emery a lot. I think we'll sit perfectly for Manny. I think he'll sit right off the pace, just as that first time out win. I think this horse is only going to get better. I think it's going to be a very difficult horse to beat.
I'll tell you another horse that contributed to that positive second time out, Brad Cox ROI, Matt, the great Looms Boldly.
That's right. I gotta throw in the namesake there, Pete, for sure. Adding to those numbers, and if you were to click on this, right? So when you click on it, it'll actually go through those statistics and bring up all of the different, Equibase sheets that fit that, and you will find the one and only Looms Boldly in that statistic.
Excellent. It reminds me, I got to get the win picture. The one, I've been very fortunate in this game. I've had a bunch of winners as an owner. I only have one win photo that I'm in. It was Looms Boldly, and I still have not acquired it. I need to rectify that. Where shall we go next, Matt?
Yeah, well, P, I was going to say, out of all the things you have in the background there, you got to get that one up there for sure. So
I've got Long On Value over here, just out of view, but I couldn't make it that day. One of the biggest mistakes I made, we had a family thing, and it was 4th of July weekend, and oh no, he'll run in Saratoga. He'll run at the Breeders' Cup. We'll have time to see him. I don't need to go to see him in the Grade 1. Yeah, no, it's a bad decision. But anyway, where are we headed next?
Exactly. It's horse racing so predictable, Pete. So I'm surprised it didn't work out exactly there. So we'll jump over to Keeneland, and again, I'm gonna give an angle here, or give you an idea. This is more of kind of the, not necessarily opinion on this particular race, but I want to highlight some of the real different things that you can do and how detailed or how broad you want to be. But you can take a look at stuff that's just kind of, beyond just, trainer, jockey, kind of the more easy to find statistics there. And, what I looked at here is actually, it's a collection of horses. So if you look at Last Leaf, Static Fire, and Happy Soul in the Thoroughbred Club of America Stakes here at Keeneland, all of these horses have a particular angle that I've been doing a little bit of research on. I'm starting to dive into this a little bit more, and that's kind of one of the many projects I'm working on here. But what shows up here is when we look at the Lasix, right? That's always been a big discussion of whether or not it makes a difference. Does it not make a difference? And, when you look at it overall, I do think there's obviously impact there. I mean, I think that's kind of the basic, that's the obvious. And when I broke it down, though, I looked to see, okay, is it any different when you look at it from a female perspective or male? And I noticed a pretty a pretty good size difference when it comes to the females running off of Lasix. So what you can actually do here on Racelands is look through medication. So you can actually build models off of medication, whether they're on Lasix, off Lasix, second time off Lasix, third time off. So you can do all of these different queries on there to see if anything comes up. And that's kind of the next stage of what I'm working on, but it's on a very basic level here. These 3 horses meeting that criteria. And again, the numbers, you have a large sample size here. So if you look at it, it's over 2,000 races over the last year. Just 11% winner. So 22 wins over this sample size in the last year and a negative 35% ROI. So again, it just, I want to highlight that if you're looking to kind of pick through of maybe horses not having their best day on the track, does medication contribute to it? Again, there's no way to definitively know, but again, I think this leads you in that direction to maybe want to take a second look.
As a guy who loves Ugiri and wanted to back up with Wicked Halo in this spot and not get clever, that actually is kind of a helpful little bit of information to me. You can see just with the win probabilities there, 2 horses that certainly look to be accounting for a lot of the market according to that aspect of the Racelands algorithm. Do you use that win probability that you see there much?
I do, and we can take a quick spin through it. So what I just selected here is what's called true odds, and this is like the AI portion of Racelands, right? So if you want to just take what's given to you, and I feel like this is something. So back when it first started, it was Stats Racelands, and this is something from Stats Perform that's continued to funnel through the Racelands product since it's all been brought in-house with Equibase. Is basically using their AI algorithms to come up with their projections, come up with their pace projection, come up with their win probabilities. What you also have here, and what I do like, is it breaks down each horse, the run style, right? So like we talked about last time, if you're, sustain, early, presser, right? So show all that. You'll have a late pace figure, which I really do love that they separate the late pace. And I do like their late pace projections on here. I do use them often. If this were a live race, basically you would see what the live odds are and it would highlight. So right now it's highlighting Happy Soul at 2-1 because it's such a big difference when they're looking to project this horse to be much better than what the morning line is presenting. Now, as the race goes live, it will then draw in the live odds and then draw you to the attention where they feel the value is, right? So it's something that actively updates as the race is going on. It also gives you odds to finish in the money, right? And it also will give you their final odds of kind of what their fair value is, right? Based on their projections. It also takes in the public betting to see what their true. So this true odds will actually adjust as the betting moves forward, but it gives you an idea of what their line is. The thing I do like, and I'll point out really quick here, if you select any of these, it will then order these in that selection. So if I want to know, show me who has the best late pace in the race, it's literally just a click away and I get a really clear idea of what we're looking at. Again, if I felt this was a race that I feel either have a meltdown or I'm looking for something off the pace. But even a case right here, if you're projecting a horse to be up towards the pace and still has that high late pace figure, again, I just thought that was it. It's an interesting part of the AI portion here to be able to toggle and organize that.
So many different interesting tools. Where shall we head next?
So let's I'm going to jump over to let's go back to the Keeneland main page here, and I'm going to jump up to race number 10 and give you kind of a tale of 2 horses here, or really kind of 2 different situations. Again, the point is to highlight how you can take something really broad and get an idea. And a lot of times that's a lot of stuff that's baked into what is in past performances or just easily seen kind of off the cuff. And what I did was I looked at set piece, and I looked at a couple of different things here. And anytime I see green, what that means is there's a positive angle that's going to be in play here. So obviously that draws my attention, right? So when I took a look at this, the positive angle here is very broad, very, very common. Just looking at jockey trainer combination here, and you look at Cox and Florent Giroux together. Then I did it specifically for turf routes with graded stakes, right? So not anywhere specific. I just looked at it overall on a broader sense. and the numbers are pretty impressive, right? So to run
Yeah.
through it over the last year, 43% winners, 86% hit the board, and then you had a positive 173% ROI. If you go shorter with 6 months, hitting at 70% wins, a positive 379% ROI. But if you backed out, so let's take a larger sample, right? Over a 3-year period, still hitting at 28% and a positive 15% ROI. So when you look at this all around, like these are connections. This is obviously the go-to jockey for Cox, but they do very well when it goes to turf routes and when it comes to graded stakes. Now, what I did was, you'll see it underneath it here, right? Kind of a competing statistic here. And this kind of goes to the idea of why I like to use Racelands overall. I'll give you a good example. I take that broad statistic and then I say, okay, let me drill down a little bit. Let me see if Brad Cox and Florent Geroux together are just better in different places. And it couldn't have stuck out more when it comes to Keeneland. Right. So if you go to the last Keeneland meet, they were 0 for 7 for over the last year. I believe only 20% of them hit the board. And then if you look at it over a 5-year period, it's still a pretty dismal number. So just hitting at 9% with a negative 73% ROI. So just 3 for 32 over that subset. So again, kind of gives you an idea. Look at a broad-based angle where you're really drawn to it. And, when these guys get together, they certainly mean business, which again, I'm not saying set piece can't get it done here. But when you drill down a little bit further, again, I don't know if Keeneland is the spot when it comes to these two getting together, specifically turf routes for graded stakes.
What do you make of that? And why, like, just intellectually, putting the raw data aside, and we talked about this on the show last night too, with a great trainer like Steve Asmussen and the lack of success he's had at Keeneland. At what point does it make you veer away from the fundamentals of handicapping and want to look at an angle like that just doesn't, you know what I mean? It doesn't like compute to the human brain why that would be the case, but it's so notable. How do you reconcile that and actually use it to make a decision one way or the other?
Yeah, I think it's significant. I mean, I know it's on the turf, but again, it just could be different courses, different configurations of the course. Also, something I'm working on too. It's interesting you asked that. Is that in Racelands you can do angles that have specific time frames, right? So looking at kind of the ebbs and flows of Cox's barn, there are certain times where his barn seems to peak and to fall off. Is he coming off of a meet where maybe the stock's not there, or just doesn't have that kind of layoff that he's looking for? So there could be a lot of different reasons there, but again, it just gives you kind of a pause. And the point of really showing this there, you can get the basic stuff when you look at it through PPs. But I think sometimes digging a little bit deeper, you might find some more value where folks might gravitate towards more of that general statistic than looking at some of the specifics.
To interject some handicapping, no one agrees with me on this, who I've spoken with, but I really like Annapolis in this turf mile. I think he's going to get exactly the right kind of trip. I have some questions about Master of the Seas, if his more galloping style is going to be suited towards the tight 2-turn mile. I like set piece a little bit, but he gets far back. We've talked about him up to the mark. This feels like it's plan B or plan C for him. They had been talking about him early in the year as one to stretch out to the turf. Now they're coming up with this on the fly plan to be a BC miler. It all just leaves me with questions. And meanwhile, I think Annapolis is going to get the jump on all those, get to stalk some weak speed. And I think it'd make a major impact here in the Coolmore Turf Mile. I know you haven't done your full work on it, but did you have any quick thoughts in terms of who you think might be able to get the job done here? And then we'll go to our final race.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at my stuff on another screen over here, I just have a question mark in the notes section. I thought this race was tough. I mean, this is a race I want to take a price, right? This is a race I definitely, if I'm just playing the race alone, I'd like to try to get a price on top, but also try to hook up a price underneath. So I'm not leaning in a specific direction here, but I think this race is pretty even. I think this you can get actually a decent price in this field, I think.
So you give me some hope. You give me some hope with my Annapolis idea. He did run his best race ever in this race last year, and it was weaker than this in theory. But I just think he's going to trip out so nice. I don't mind the outside at all. Sit in behind the 3, 6, and 7. Get the jump on the 1 and the 5. I'm hoping he can get the job done.
Yeah, I think he'll get a price too. So again, if you're right, you're going to get paid to be right. It'll be interesting to see where the board goes in this race and see if our good friend Nick Tamarack on the or if we deviate. I am sure Twitter will or X, whatever you want to call it, will let us all know exactly what the right thing was apparently there. So
I think he's probably right that the market will fall all over itself betting the 1 and the 5, and anything else you want, you're going to get a little bit of a price. Where shall we go? Where shall we go next? We got about 5 minutes left, Matt. How shall we spend them?
Yeah, let's get out west to Santa Anita, which I'll give my congratulations for moving away from the jackpot bet over to the dollar pick six. Although there's a bit of a hiccup there at the start, but I got it right and just happy because
everything got paid out correctly in the end. Yes.
Yeah, everything got paid out correctly. I was just very confused when I wasn't playing it, but I was very confused when it popped up. I think I texted you. I'm like, what's going on here? Like, why is there a carryover? And they pay, there's so a little confusing. But again, I always like to, we beat up tracks and have different opinions on things in horse racing. I think the positives get left behind sometimes. Here's the positive, right? Because listen, on a takeout standpoint and revenue generator that was making money on the track, to kind of hear out the horse player and go back to more of that traditional style of pick six, I think is commendable. And I'm happy I get to look at the pick six at Santa Anita again. So I'm excited about that.
Definitely.
So we're going to
Rodeo Drive.
Yeah, going to the Rodeo Drive out at Santa Anita, race number 8. It's an interesting view here, as you know, and I've being on your airwaves, Pete. I have spoken of our. I'm going to go to actually the number 2 here. I've spoken very highly of my one of my favorite jockeys, Umberto Rispoli. Just fantastic rider. I think he puts his horses in the right position. I think he's got that style of run. I call it the Happy Valley style from Hong Kong. We're just saving every bit of ground, waiting to the last minute and the last second and switch your horse out, even if you got to go 5 wide and just finish. So even though I'm a huge fan of Rispoli, I'm gonna take a different view here, and I'm gonna have some numbers that I take a look at. And again, I think that he has a run style, like I just mentioned. I think certain horses fit him very, very well. I think the mile, which is proven to be statistically a perfect distance for him with a horse that can lay either mid-pack or just off the pace, because he does finish so well. I think he times his rides so well. But one thing I noticed one time, this is going back last year, where I felt like horses that were more of that sustained run style that would come from off the pace, I felt like he got his horses. He kind of created trouble, didn't quite have that same finish, or I just felt like he looked uncomfortable out there. And again, it's not all exact science, but I figured, you know what, let me take a look at that. And I did. I looked at Rispoli for turf routes with a sustained run style. And you can also dive into this a little bit deeper. You can actually set how far back the horse is at each call to try to create the scenario of, okay, this is a horse that really is well off the pace. And for all the success he's had on the turf at Santa Anita, at Del Mar, etc., he does struggle with these types of horses that do come from out of the clouds. And, if you look at a sample size of 278 runners, just 12% winners out of that group and a minus 31% ROI. And a lot of short prices went down if you look at the detail section there. So that was something that I wanted to dive into, because I noticed it with my eyes. I want to see if the numbers matched up. So I do think when you look at this horse, going to take money, is probably going to go off as the favorite here. I felt that was a statistic that maybe kind of think twice. And I know I've kind of lived through it. So it's something I want to take another look when it comes to looking at the morning line favorite here.
Very interesting. And Anisette, who will be the favorite in this spot, is going to have to quite possibly pass them all in this spot. Didia, an obvious alternative potentially. And, that's also East Coast Turf Forum shipping west. That's something that we talk about all the time on these shows. So, yeah, maybe a reason to oppose this 3-year-old moving up into this grade 2 company against her elders. As good as she's looked against her own generation, this could be a different ball game. Any further thoughts, Matt, from you on the Rodeo Drive, or anything else quick we want to get to before we send this one home?
Yeah, just quickly, I would say the horse I'm looking forward to betting in this race, and I definitely will be betting this horse is Turn Loose on the front end, on the inside. I just this is when you look at turf routes, when you look at this distance specifically, the front end seems to do extremely well. So I did take a look at horses that you look at turf routes, the basic, right? So you start from the basic and you kind of drill in. Looking at Santa Anita turf routes, projected to be on the first call, projected to be on the lead at first call. At an 81 race sample size, 31% winners, and a positive 23% ROI. So something certainly to pay attention to. When you drill it down even further, right? So here's the idea of saying, okay, here's a basic subset. Let me go a bit further. So I did the same turf route, Santa Anita, projected to be on the lead. I did from post position on the inside, so post 1 to 3. So you can actually set exactly where you're looking at for the post position that goes into that same type of angle. And you can also look to see on a pace perspective. I wanted to see, with all that in mind, right? Turf route, projected to be on the lead. I wanted the best early and best middle pace figure. I wanted to see how that played out. So does that early and middle pace start? Is it enough to kind of carry horses to the line? And to me, it gets even a little bit better. So 46% wins with a positive 48% ROI when you drill down to that as well. So the numbers do get a bit better from that post position of turf routes and having that top early and middle pace figure. So again, just giving you an idea of how you can kind of drill down and look a little bit deeper into these horses when it comes to some of these more general angles.
Turner Loose definitely looking live here for our friends at Medallion Racing. We'll be doing our final answer show for the Breeders' Cup in just a few weeks' time for them. But this show's been brought to you by our friends at Racelens. If you want to learn more about this amazing offer, get a giant discount on the year of Racelens, as well as a year of In the Money Plus, which would get you our Breeders' Cup package, our Derby package, all of our summer meet stuff next year. Fantastic value. InTheMoneyPodcast.com/Racelens. That'll get you all the info you need. That URL, once again, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/Racelens. Matt, hopefully you'll be part of our Breeders' Cup coverage as well. We haven't talked about it much, but hopefully the time will allow. And I know you're going to be back in the fold. We're going to be doing this educational series of questioning racing, established wisdom post BC. That's a series I'm really looking forward to. Always a pleasure to work with you, my friend.
Great being here, and definitely will be part of the Breeders' Cup coverage. And I say this every year, I'll say it again. If you don't get it, if you get it just for the Pro Players Roundtable, the ROI on that is absolutely through the roof. So to me, you're crazy if you don't get it just for that. Now, when you got that Borman guy on, you got to get the kids out of the room for a bit, right? So you got to make sure they're out of the room. But when to set the stage with those guys, you look at the Matisses, you look at Sean Borman, Marshall Graham. I mean, it's basically like sitting at the bar talking about these races and getting into their minds of how they're going to play it. It's more of that free-flowing conversation. But again, I think that if you're just going to get it for one thing, get it for that. But there's so much more beyond that. But that is by far and away the best value that's out there when it comes to Breeders' Cup.
Love it, Matt. Thank you so much. We'll thank Rhonda and Ellis and all our friends at Racelens. URL one more time, InTheMoneyPodcast.com/Racelens. Check out all the other content we've got on the network. We are loaded this weekend. We've got all these Breeders' Cup betting, Breeders' Cup, what am I looking for? Challenge Series races covered in one form or another. InTheMoneyPodcast.com, the place to check it out. Look elsewhere on our YouTube channel as well. Appreciate you, Matt. This show's been a production of In the Money Media. We thank producer AJ for doing yeoman's work tonight as well. I'm Peter Thomas Fornatale. May you win all your photos.